YouTube, hello, welcome to the live stream. And A's fans, your current win streak is a teenager, as in 13 wins in a row. We'll go through the breakdown of what's happened, where it's going, how special this is, how unique it is. I mean, this season has been the lowest of lows out of the gate. And quite honestly, I don't want to say the highest of highs, because a 13-game win streak in April does not guarantee you the playoffs. It does not guarantee you winning in the playoffs. It does not guarantee you necessarily anything, especially in a 162-game season. But look, this has been a very impressive turnaround. I've said it before that the way the A's are playing is not out of their mind. It's not out of their capabilities. That's the most special part of all this. They're running through a stretch right now of teams that, honestly, they can beat, and they are beating. But nothing is given to them. They're taking every inch that they're getting. And I'll kind of go through, again, just how special this has been in the entire process. I also want to get your chat. I want to get your chat. I want to get your chat. Is that what I said? I want to get your comments in the live chat. So go ahead and put those in, and I will address some of those things a little bit later on in this video. I'm planning to be here for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. We'll see how long this live stream goes. But I am very intrigued by this win streak. And let's just go back to the beginning of this season, right? Opening night, 8-1 loss against Houston. Ooh, that was rough. That was an eye-opener. That was deflating. Game 2, 9-5. All right, well, you scored 5 runs, but you gave up an additional run. 9-1. Game 3, okay, you lost the series. This thing's starting to get out of hand. 9-2, Houston sweeps it in 4 games. Now you're 0-4. And, oh yeah, the Dodgers are coming into town. And, oh yeah, after that, you have to fly back out to Houston to face these very same Astros in their home opener. So we continue. The Dodgers roll into town. The A's have been giving up 9s. Now the A's give up a 10 spot. 10-3, 5-1. And Kershaw, well, he Kershaw'd the A's. As simple as that. So now you're 0-6. It's this historic 0-6 start to the season that everybody was talking about. The first time for the A's since, 1916 or 17 or 18 or something like that? Yeah. Your grandparents may not have even been born back then. So a historically bad start. They get this 4-3 win in the walk-off in 10 innings to close out the homestand. And you kind of feel at that point like you got the win, you squeaked it out. I'm not saying you don't deserve it, but it doesn't feel as redeeming as it should. But it was fine, right? That's the one you get to fly to Houston on. So good plane flight there to Houston. But then in the Astros home opener, they beat the A's 6-2, all right? And that's when this streak starts, which is pretty amazing that of all the adversity of being in Houston, the Astros had just stomped on you in 4 games. Now they win the opener. It's this first 10 games of a gauntlet, which looks like it's going to eat you up. And we also realize that the first 10 games of this season are also not going to decide anything. But it was frustrating. It was the same loss over and over, and essentially over in the beginning, and you just couldn't do much well. Offense, defense, pitching, bullpen. There were no areas of foundation to build on for the Oakland A's. But then they get this great start here from Sean Manaea. First quality start of the season. A's win 6-2. Then they close it out on that Saturday. Remember, it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series in Texas. And Frankie Montas backs that up with another quality start. A's win 7-3. All right, now they've made it interesting. They roll into Arizona after a day off. They beat Madison Bumgarner. Again, Chris Bassett is the starter for the A's in that series. He gets his first win of the season, 9-5. All right, now you have yourself a little win streak going here. But I do want to point out this second game in Arizona, what turned out to be a 7-5 win. What most people forget is that 3 innings into that game, these were down 5-0. They scored the final 7 runs of that game unanswered. It did look like the streak was going to just quickly conclude at 3. But the A's won. Real good Comeback win, Lou Trevino's first save of this season. Second at that point of his career? Second or third of his career. So now you're headed home off a pretty good road trip. You won the series in Houston. You swept the series in Arizona. And you're going to play the Tigers for 4 games. And then after that, you're going to play the Twins for 3 games. Both, on paper, beatable big league teams. Now, I'm not saying you're going to necessarily win the series or sweep the homestand like they did, but it was encouraging. And the A's come home in this game. They win 8-4 in the opener. Manaea pitched so well. I think it was 8-2 until the Tigers' last at-bats when they got 2 runs there. So a deceiving 8-4 final score. The A's were better than that. And then Oakland starts going on this shutout tear. Shut out the Tigers 3-0. Shut out the Tigers 7-0. All right, so now we get to the series finale, and the A's walk it off. I believe this was the Moreland ground ball to the left side of the infield, ate up the third baseman. A's walk it off 3-2. So they swept a series, feeling pretty good about themselves, winning that one against Detroit. And I think in that game, if I recall this, and if you're impressed by the memory, I don't know how this happens, but I think the A's went up 1-0. Detroit got the next 2. The A's scored 1 to tie it, to send it to extras, and that's how they won in the bottom of the 9th. Yeah, in the bottom of the 9th, that's how they won it. I think they scored 1 in the 8th. Well, yeah, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. Sean Murphy homered in the 8th, and then the Moreland E5 got him the win. Ooh, I remembered that. All right, good. I mean, I was there. I did witness it. I did work the game. All right, so then it's the weird situation of Monday off because the Minnesota Twins had not played since Friday. Saturday and Sunday, they were out of action because of the 4 positive COVID tests. There was another player that tested positive while the team was in Oakland. So they were reeling a little bit. So now we play a Tuesday doubleheader, 7 innings each, 7-0 final score in Game 1, 1-0 final score in Game 2. And you may recall that this second game here was the Luzardo lights out game, where yes, he was pretty lights out with the pitching performance, but the lights actually also went out at the Coliseum, delayed that game 25 minutes. We didn't even know if we'd be able to finish it on time or if at all that night. But I want to point out here this stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4 shutouts in 5 games. Now, I know you're telling me these last 2 are only of the 7-inning variety, but 4 shutouts in 5 games. And the A's put up a fair amount of runs on their side. This was dominant. This little stretch right here was dominant. Again, you're getting more great starts. Manaea, Luzardo. Cole Irvin, by the way, had that start in the 7-0 win on a Saturday. And that brings us to the craziest game of the season thus far, that 13-12 win in 10 frames. And that was 8 games in 1. There were 7 lead changes. In this game right here, 7 lead changes. A's were down 1-0, then up 3-1. Then I think down 4-3, and I had it all listed here the other day, but yeah, 7 lead changes. It was a story of 8 different games. The A's scored 3 times in the bottom of the 10th to win it. They didn't even get a hit in that inning. Had 3 walks and reached on 2 errors, including the walk-off where the third baseman just absolutely threw it away. Yeah, Ramon Laureano hit the ground ball to third, and the third baseman just airmailed it. Luis Ariz airmailed it. And that brings us to tonight in Baltimore. Another weird game in a sense that, I take it back. No, this is not tonight's game. Look at this. Tonight's game is not even on here yet. We'll get to that in just a second. This was last night's game, 3-1. And I say a rather pedestrian win last night. A homer. The A's manufactured a couple runs. It was a business-like, it was a workman-like effort. And then tonight, to get this win streak into the teens, the A's scored early. They scored 1 in the first, 3 in the second. Their final 3 was in the 4th inning. But the whole story here is in the 7-2 win, the A's were trying to get this game to the 5th inning because that's where it would be official. That's where it would count. The rain was coming in fast. And actually, the rain was there from innings like 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's interesting how the game sped up and how the rain really never intensified and they just kept playing. To be honest, I did not see this game. I did not see it finishing. 2 innings in, 3 innings in, thinking, no way is this thing going to play out all the way to the end. But sure enough, it actually did. And just like that, the A's win streak is now a teenager, as we said before. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to dive through the live chat, so stick with me. Trevor Godenthal leading us off. Let's go. Trevor, let's go with you. Where are you? We miss you. Really wanted to see Trevor Rosenthal this season. I almost said Gotenthal. Really wanted to see him this season. I hope we do at some point. What to expect coming off of shoulder surgery 4 months down the line? We talking August? I mean, there's going to only be about a month left of baseball. Yeah, it's unfortunately far from our minds right now when you have a 13-game win streak. Look at Chapman Uber Alice. Ride the wave. I imagine there's going to be a lot of that. Oh, yeah. Trevor, ride the wave. Olsen Uber Alice. www. There's a lot of W's in there. You could spell Jed Lowry with all those W's in there. 13 straight. Beat the teams you're supposed to. I agree. Can I call you Zeus if it's Jesus? I agree. And maybe that's the criticism of the A's right now. Well, look who you're beating in this streak. Well, hang on a second. I don't think Arizona's a slouch. You started it off against the Houston Astros. And look, sweeping series like they are, sweeping homestands like they are, it's one thing to win games and to beat teams most often when you're supposed to, but to win every game 13 times over, I think there's something about it. I agree, Will. What a streak. And Julian, you say it here perfectly. I meant to mention this and I forgot up to this point. Watching Moneyball again. I mean, you realize that if they win tomorrow, that's 14, we're 6 away from Moneyball. They made a Hollywood movie about that. Who's going to play Billy Beane this time around? Who's going to play David Forst this time around? Who's going to play Shooty Babbitt this time around? We were joking earlier about that in the studio, and there were a couple names mentioned. You know, you're looking for the most, stereotypical person to play the character that you think you exude. And I, of course, am like, yeah, well, is Seacrest busy? You think Seacrest could play the Brazil part? But yeah, back to the point. I mean, you're coming up here on special territory. By the way, only 4 teams in the history of Major League Baseball have ever had a 13-game win streak. No team has ever made it 14 in a row in the first month of the season. If we were on our game in those first 6, we probably would have been 4-2 or 3-3. I'll say this, Chapman Uber Alice. I actually think in reverse. Now, the A's are 14 wins, 7 losses. I actually think in reverse that losing those games and galvanizing the team at that early stage, crazy as this sounds, I would never have figured this out back then. In the first week of April, I would have told myself, you're crazy for thinking this. But I really do believe that all of that caused this. All of that brought this team together. It galvanized this group to win 13 straight. I don't think that's a far-fetched idea or concept. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Still a long season, though. I agree, Oaktown Mojo. And, nothing is won or lost in the first month of the season. You can definitely dig yourself a hole. And you know what? At 14-7, I remember thinking, and just going back to, how do I get back here? Hang on one second. Let me pull up something here on the screen I want you to see. Going back to this point, I don't know, somewhere here, maybe after these 2 Houston games, maybe even into the Arizona series. Well, actually, you know what? I take it back. I know we talked about it right here going into this Detroit series and game. We said, hey, you got a couple wins under your belt, 4 in a row. Just get back to 500 and your start is wiped out. I mean, not only have they wiped out the start, they've obliterated it, they've erased it, they've painted over it, they've built something even better on top of it. So that to be honest, started from the bottom. and the standings where they were and the Astros beating up on you. Now look at the standings. By the way, have you seen the commentary about the standings and what the hats spell? A's hat, Seattle hat, Houston hat, Angels hat, Texas hat. There's a meme out there. I can't spell this out, nor do I want to, but you figure it out. Look at the standings and look at memes. That's all I got to tell you tonight. You can put the rest together. I'd rather have this win streak towards the end of the season, but still enjoying riding the wave. No, look, I totally agree. And I would tell you that wins at any point of the year are important. What is this win streak going to do? Well, first off, we don't know how long it's going to continue or last. But like I said, it's actually less about the results at this point, which is crazy. It's a results-based game and business. It's more about establishing what this team is capable of, giving them an early season taste of winning like this. And also, I think there's another point to be made here is that beyond galvanizing the group, you can build yourself a little bit of a cushion in these standings. Now, it's not to say that it's going to last or it can last all summer or somebody else is not going to be hot on your tail. It's just that if given the opportunity to start building this cushion now, it's like saving for retirement. I mean, you can just hope that you crush it when you're 47, and you have a good 18 or whatever years left of your career, hypothetically. But why not start when you're 22? Give yourself those extra 25 years, of creating pad, of creating cushion, of stocking away. And honestly, I think that's what the A's are doing right now, is they're building themselves a tiny little bit of cushion. Again, what does this all mean if you have a really awful month of May? Not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, this is fun to watch, and it's going to end up being 13 games is already it's 3 shy of about 10% of your season. Right? Am I doing that math right? 10, 13, 10, 162? Yeah, I mean, it's a significant cut. But we just know that it doesn't make you immune if you have a bad month or a really bad stretch, that it's not going to hurt you. So I'm going to close it off right there here on the live stream. I just want to say that it's been a fun streak to be a part of, riding the wave. And let me make my final comments on that. Chris Bassett came up with this. He says he and Luzardo did as a tandem. I think that's the perfect expression for this group. And it's not just because, it's not just because of that, right? Like all these, where am I? All these games up here, why don't I just use the mouse, you big dummy? It's not just because of all that. That was the low point of the wave. And it's not just because of all this down here either. But you realize there are going to be other high points and low points of this season. And if you establish early on that, hey, you're going to enjoy this and you're going to get through this, it makes the middle part a lot easier to enjoy. No, Pip Roberts said this best. Waves are great, right? But instead of doing all this, how about now at some point when you're good, how about just right here, right? You don't have to get too high and you don't have to get too low. So I'll leave it with that. I think it's a perfect way to describe this season. It's more than just the hand signal, which is fun to do. This is definitely a way of thinking. This is a way of executing a baseball season, is to ride the wave. So I'll tell you what, it's a Saturday. Wait, it's a Saturday night? Yeah, it's Saturday night. I will see you tomorrow, Sunday morning. Our pregame show is 9:30 a.m. against the Baltimore Orioles, as the A's will try and make it 14 straight. Have a good night, everybody.